This week on Library Beat, it's part 2 of our special 2-part episode on Local Author Day. If you missed last week's episode, you might want to go back and listen to it because we talked to a bunch of local authors, and there were so many we had to split them into 2 parts. So we'll hear from some more authors later. But right now, here's a talk I had with the mastermind behind Local Author Day.
I'm Shannon Emmons, and I am a youth programs coordinator here at the Garland County Library.
Yes, and you started working over on the adult side, and one of your tasks was to help organize Local Author Day.
That's right.
And you have taken that on to your new job and done a fantastic job. I can't remember getting better feedback about a Local Author Day than the one that we had last week. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what it's like planning it, what you're hoping to achieve with Local Author Day.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, that was very kind. My big hope with Local Author Day is to build a community of writers here in Hot Springs, a warm community where we can support one another and help generate ideas, generate work, and just be supportive.
You also work directly with writers in some other programs, isn't that right?
I do. I have an adult fiction writing club called the Inkhearts Fiction Writers, and they meet on the second Tuesday of the month here at the library at 6 o'clock. Everyone's welcome, invited to join. I also teach fiction to our younger patrons. I've got a club called the Scribes Fiction Writers Club for 10 to 12-year-olds. And then another for teens called Fiction Writers Cafe, and that's 13 to 18.
Excellent. So that covers the gamut pretty much. And I know that we also have some writers groups who meet here.
Yes.
And a lot of those probably participated in Local Author Day.
Yes.
How many total authors did we have? I never got a count.
I believe we had 37 this year.
Quite a few.
Yes.
And I know you split them into 2 separate groups. What was the thinking behind that?
Last year was a little crowded. I wanted every author to have their own table, feel free to put up their own display, feel comfortable, and have the opportunity to talk one-on-one with their visitors without, bumping elbows with the person next to them.
Right.
So in order to still accommodate the same number of writers and even a few more, we split them into 2 sessions. There was an 11 to noon and then a 12:30 to 1:30.
Right. Yeah, in the past, knowing that we were going to talk today, I looked through my documents I had saved from years ago, and I was curious about when we did the first Local Author Day. And I tracked it down, and next year will be the 10th anniversary.
Oh, my goodness.
So we'll have to do something special for next year, 10 years of Local Author Days.
Absolutely.
We started it because we often get requests from local authors. They would like to do a book signing at the library. I sometimes see on my news feed authors who are fairly well established, maybe not, Danielle Steele or John Grisham, but the next rung or 2 down, who are coming out, their books are with major publishing houses and what have you, and they'll post little stories about their empty book signings.
Yes.
So it's very difficult to get people to come to a book signing. And we maybe did a few at one time, but they were just disappointments for everyone. So we thought, I believe it was John Wells, who was our director years ago, he said, well, why don't we get all the authors together at one time, and that way maybe they can get a bigger crowd. So we started it then, and we had to have them share tables, so it's nice that they have more space now.
Well, it was a brilliant idea. I know that sometimes writers put themselves out to great expense. They provide refreshments and decorations, and then it's really disappointing to not have a bigger crowd. So.
Yes. We did get a very nice crowd for Local Author Day.
We did.
A very loud crowd, too.
Yes.
A lot of it seems like the authors networking with each other, too, which is nice. I had one gentleman ask me, did I know how to get an agent? And I was like, well, I have no idea, but I bet she does. So I tried to hook them up.
That's wonderful.
Yes. What are your plans for Local Author Day in the future?
So next year, I'm looking at a slight change in format. Actually, one of the authors suggested it, and I thought, why haven't I done this yet? And that is to switch the meet and greet time with the actual local author panel time. So what that means is the authors will have their 3 minutes on stage, and that live stream will go out, and after that, we'll have their meet and greet tables where people can talk to the authors face to face. It makes more sense.
Oh,
you
it
know?
does, because once they're done with that part, then they can just go to their table.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
And then the people who are approaching them already know a little bit about them and about their books. And if somebody watches the live stream and says, "Oh my gosh, I've got to get out there," you know,
Right.
that's another guest that we can welcome.
Oh, perfect. That does sound like a perfect way to do it. And, you know, we're talking about having a big remodel.
Yes.
So hopefully by next Local Author Day, the facility will be a little bit different and we'll have better space to do all of those things. So time will tell on that.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about our local writing community?
I guess the big thing that I'd like to say is I felt really inspired when each of the writers got up and told their own story. The stories were so different, and yet they were able to support each other across those differences.
Right.
It's something that we don't often see.
And that is where the battery ran out on the recorder. But fortunately, it was near the end of our conversation. I want to thank Shannon for participating in the podcast. I wanted to talk to her on Local Author Day itself, but she was running around making sure everyone felt welcome and comfortable. If you're interested in viewing the panel that Shannon referred to, it's available on the library's YouTube page. But now, let's get back to our local author interviews from Local Author Day.
My name is Paula Jones, and I wrote a book called Double Devastation, Brought Glorious Transformation, and it's about my life. I went through 2 devastations in my life, one that left me a widow at 19 years old. It was a double homicide that happened here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And then years later, I had a son through that marriage, and years later, when he grew up, he got into drugs and alcohol, which he got into a bad group of people, and he was found dead in a Federal Express drop box at 20 years old. I lost my son, and I had trauma. I had devastation through that. Everything you could think of, I went through, crisis, anything you could think of, fear. Every emotion that you could think of, I went through it. But God brought me through it. And so I'm still alive today through all of the emotions, all the trauma, and all the crisis that I went through.
And you wrote a book about it.
And I wrote a book about it, yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have a great Local Author Day.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
for chatting.
you.
My name is Janie Nesbitt Jones, and my book is a true crimer called The Arkansas Hitchhike Killer, James Wayburn Red Hall. And it's about a serial killer who was active during World War II. He's not very well known. In fact, this is the first book ever written about him. And it's available online in various places like Amazon.
And at the library.
And at the library, yes, always check the library. It's in some brick and mortar stores like Barnes & Noble. You'll just have to check with them. But yes, Red was fairly unknown when all this was going on because World War II stole his thunder. And I feel kind of like I rescued him from the dustbin of history. So,
my name's Janice Percival, and I'm a local author in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I have a new release coming out June 4th. It's called Elderberry Summer. My release will be at Oakland Methodist Church, and at 1:30 on the 4th, I'll be giving a presentation on the benefits of reading fiction. There's been a lot of studies lately in recent years on people's reading habits and how it affects them, and specific, which was an amazing thing to read, specific to fiction, there's a lot of good things that it does for people's personalities, and so I'm going to talk about that for just a few minutes before I have my book signing. And then the book signing will last until 3:30 or until I run out of books. But I write both fiction and nonfiction. I'm leaning more and more toward fiction. I've discovered you can say a lot in fiction. You can actually. Well, I think you can have a discussion about how much truth you can put in fiction as opposed to how much truth you can put in in real history, I've gotten into discussion with other people in the field of history, and there's so much research that we do and things that people tell us that they don't want us to record. And over the years, I've ended up, and things in my own life, and you in your life, everybody, there's so many things we can't tell for one reason or another. So I'm fascinated by, I was a fiction writer 30 years before I went back, got my graduate degree. So going back to fiction is my home. And so it's really, I'm using the real events that happen as backdrops. I'm also intertwining real people in history with the people. We had people from all over the world come to Hot Springs, so there's just like an endless number of stories. Plus, I had 4 older brothers, and I'll never run out of stories. And so, Elderberry Summer, the very first chapter, has to do with a hornet's nest, and that's right out of my childhood. And it's like it really did happen. Kids really are that stupid, and not that my brothers were stupid, but they were boys. Okay, but it's been fun. I thoroughly enjoy writing, and well, so far it's been fun. I've seen some people. I saw a lady a while ago I hadn't seen probably in 30 years, 40, maybe 40. We'd gone to high school together, and I think I've seen her once since high school. So it's a good reconnection here.
Good. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Nix Lindsley. I work here in the Children's Department at the Garland County Library, and this is my first self-published authoring work. It's a YA fantasy novel called Shattered Mirror, dragons, elves, all that good kind of stuff. It's a deeply symbolic story, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to a lot of parts in it. And it is the first of many to come. I've got a prequel written up in a notebook that just needs to be typed. I'm planning to release some poetry books. I actually self-published it 10 years ago and then went into teaching. I didn't have time to do anything after that with it. So it's getting a proper release now, and I'm really super excited that it gets to happen here where I work and love to be.
Hi, I'm Cynthia D'Alba, and I am a Hot Springs native. I grew up here, graduated from Hot Springs High School as Cindy Donathan in 1974. I currently have about 27 books, all romances. I'm a midstream contemporary romance author. Write some cowboys, some seals, various and sundry other things, but I'm very mainstream when it comes to that. I didn't start publishing until I was after 50, so it is never too late to start. So if you've got a book burning inside you, I highly suggest you give it a shot because it's kind of fun to meet the readers.
I'm Sheila Tucker. I have 3 books. The first book I wrote was The Riverbank. It's based on a crime that happened in Malvern. And then I wrote The Setup, which is a courtroom drama. And I have a short story called Baby Doe that's based in New York City. All of my works are on Amazon under Sheila Tucker, if you'd like to check it out. Thank you.
My name is Elmer Beard, and I'm the author of 2 books. The first book is the book about the biography of African Americans who filed for public office in Hot Springs over a period of about 60 years. I wrote this book over a period of about 15 years, and it's called The Challenges, a study of African American candidates who filed for public office in Hot Springs from 1954 to 2010. One point that needs to be made about that book, had it not been for a mistake that was made in 2 people who had the last name, one was white and one was black, each had the last name of Martin, and the whites elected the black Martin rather than the white Martin. And because of that, I'm standing here today talking to you, sharing information about the first book that I wrote. That's the point that I'll make about the first book. If I say nothing else, that's a reason for everyone who be interested in how we got to be where we are. They need to read that book. It's called The Challenges. My other book is a book of poetry. It's called Let Reason Roll, Race, Religion, and Reflection. And I don't think that people who think they are an expert ought to refer to themselves as expert. But I've studied race relation more than 50 years. If there is an avocation or a vocation, I have both of those. And when it comes to race relation, I do it in poetic form. I would like to think that my poetry in this book is conservative. It has about 8 pictures in it, and these 8 pictures reflect the life of me since I was a teenager or since I was a preteen. And I would encourage anybody to obtain it from me, and if he can't pay for it or if he doesn't choose to pay for it, I would almost pay him to take it and read it because I want him to have it. I got a grant for it. I can't sell it. However, much like church, I do take donation. The book is called Let Reason Roll, Race, Religion, and Reflection, book of poetry, and the author of it, I am he, and the book is called Race, Religion, and Reflection, and I am referred to in my poetry as the octogriot. The T is silent in the word, so you can't find it in the dictionary. I tell stories. There are 83 poems by an 83-year-old African-American, and I am that 83-year-old African-American. I would encourage you to share my poetry with others. I have books available for anyone who would want one. You can get them online also. I want you to know that.
Hi, this is Katrina Robertson, and I'm here at the Garland County Library for the local author meet and greet. And this year I published a book. It's a memoir called Juror Number 11. It's a memoir of the broken justice system and rising from the trials of life. And it's my story of serving on jury duty here locally for a murder trial in which I ended up with contempt of court charges, faced my own hearings, possibility of jail time, and then a mistrial was granted for the original trial. So quite a bit of court drama in it, and then I interweave a lot of my own personal struggles during that time with my adopted children. So anyway, it's just kind of the story of some really hard times in my life and how I overcame it.
My name is Billy Blackman. I've been resident of Hot Springs for many years. I was moved to write this book because of some uncanny habits of my life. And I believe that everything we need is in God's Word. So God inspired me to write it. My book is called All I Need Is in God's Word. It is really my testimony of how God delivered me from basically the hardest that I've had of habits to overcome was that of nicotine and smoking. And so I have put it in writing, and I hope and pray that all that read it will know that if God did it for me, He'll do it for them as well, inasmuch He is no respecter of person. My book can be obtained through Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I hope that all who read it will be blessed and find truly, as I've found, that all that I need is in God's Word.
Well, I hope so too. Thank you
All right.
for talking to us
Thank
today.
you for the opportunity.
Yes, well, my name is Nikki Meeks. My genre is typically young adult romance and fantasy. So I currently have 2 books right now. We have The Folly of Relics and then The Last Guardian. They are both completely different, but they do fall under that romance fantasy. So The Folly of Relics is about a relationship between a demon and an exorcist. So it's kind of spicy there. And then we also have The Last Guardian. It focuses more on trying to develop who you are through your teenage years and realizing that no matter how bad you have it, if something were to happen to you, there's someone out there that's going to miss you, someone that's going to notice. So it's about finding that right person that will notice for you.
Hello, I am Layla Gatlin. I'm a Christian author. I have fiction and nonfiction. Most of my books are available on Amazon. A few of them are available anywhere books are sold. I started writing when I was about 12 years old, and it's just been a passion of mine ever since.
My name's Abigail Meredith. I am the author of the children's book series Abby's Acres. There's 2 books done now. The 3rd one is in the works. The books are about me and my husband's farm that we started. We got married 2 years ago, and we started collecting a bunch of farm animals, and farm animals are funny. So we started writing children's book stories about them, and we kind of turned it into lessons that you can learn through the farm animals and the things that they experience. And then when I publish a book, I take the animal of the book to school, and they get to meet the character of the book, and it makes the book come alive for them. And that's about it. I do have a petting zoo, so it is also Abby's Acres. It's a mobile petting zoo. We bring the animals from the book to birthday parties, events, celebrations, that kind of stuff. all of it just really makes the book come alive for the kids, and that's what I enjoy. When they get to see Leonard the goat or Itchy the donkey, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's real, and we love that.
I'm Janice LaForge. I live in the Village. I have 3 novels, all of them available on Amazon as paperback or Kindle version. In fact, the Kindle version is free if you have Kindle Unlimited. The first book is Sandfly. It's a crime story. It's about a woman who goes off on a path she never imagined, and how far would she go for a stranger, a friend, and a lost love. The second book is historical fiction. It's called The Romanov Remnant, and it goes back to the court of the last Tsar, plus mixed in with the 1980s. It's kind of a mixed story. It's an immigrant story. It's actually my grandmother's story, but fictionalized, totally fictionalized. And the last one is called Into the Fire, like out of the frying pan into the fire. And it's about a young woman who keeps making bad decisions, and a failed romance leads her to commit a crime. She runs from the law, and then she becomes a crime victim, not once but twice.
I'm David Malcolm Rose. I started writing about 50 years ago. I'm dyslexic and I never wrote till then, so there's a certain man bites dog charm to my work. I've got 8 or 9 books out here, everything from fantasy to murder mysteries to rock and roll. I've got one here that's actually been banned by Bezos. I think that's going to be worth something someday if I could get it printed by someone else. Turned 50, I had never wrote anything. When I turned 50, I got a hold of an old computer, and I just started writing. And when I write, I see a movie inside my head. Some people think of words and sentences and paragraphs, but I don't. I just see a movie in my head, and I have to write down what I'm seeing, and as a result, my books read like movies.
Hi, I'm Dr. Liz Bataille, and I have 2 books right now. One of them is my memoir. It's called Life Launch and Surviving the Storms of Abuse, and the other one is a pocketbook of poems, which I wrote when I was between 12. Most of them are between 12 and like 19, and there's like 40 poems in there. And I used that as a method for kind of soothing, self-soothing through the storms in the earlier book. And then I have several other books that I'm coming out with, and you can get them on Amazon. And I'd love to speak to anybody that's interested.
And that concludes our author interviews from Local Author Day. And again, I didn't even get to speak to every single author. Some of them were too busy talking either with each other or their readers. So again, if you would like to see more of the authors, check out our YouTube page. The panel they did is on there. Thanks to all of our authors, and thanks to Shannon. And next week, Karen will be back and give us her review of The Coronation. So thanks for listening.